Dear Chief Rabbi, Rabbi Simmons, Rabbi Cohen, Mori Rabbi Sai, Stenecourt, family and friends, the most important mitzvah in the Torah is the mitzvah of Hakor Satov. The first words that the Jewish people heard Hashem speak directly to every single one of us was Anochi Hashem Elokecha. I am the Lord your God. In the singular, we heard him speak to us. But he goes on to say, Asher ha'tzisecha be'eretz Yisrael. I took you out from Egypt. You owe me one. When Hashem turned around and said to Moshe, go and save the Jewish people, Moshe said a bizarre thing. Any Israelis here? I have to go and ask permission of my father-in-law, Yisro, because I owe him one. And Hashem says that's perfectly right. Because Moshe has to undo what the Egyptians had done to the Jewish people over 210 years, which was to strip us naked of every Jewish value, every Jewish concept, including, of course, Satov. If he has got to now clothe us in Jewish values again, he has to be immaculate in the observation of those values himself. Consequently, I have a chorus Satov. I've got gratitude for the man who saved my life and gave me sanctuary. I have to ask his permission, and Hashem says that's fine. Because if you can embed that concept in the Jewish people, then they're worthy of getting out. And therefore, when I speak to them and I say to them, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I'm the Lord your God, and I took you out from Egypt, pressing the you owe me one button will get the reaction that I want, and the Jewish people will accept the Torah. The most important Jewish founder says so. Somebody called Chaim Friedlander, there's a Mashkiach of Ponevezh, is gratitude, a korsatov. So let me repeat, those who were on the show yesterday, that when I said in the sermon, my Hakor Satov, my gratitude to this community of my friends, so many of my friends, good friends, and family members, is boundless. You have been, for me, and for the work that I did when I lived in Manchester, absolutely central. Chaplaincy existed in Manchester over the 23 years that I was a student chaplain, solely because of Stenecourt Synagogue. No other synagogue in the city supported chaplaincy in any way near the amount of support that chaplaincy I got from this show. Chaplaincy, this was the heart of chaplaincy. But much more than that, what I learned from Reverend Brody, I remember in this show, speaking here when my late wife, Sean, was very, very ill. And there was a big event that was happening here, I can't remember what it was, but I was supposed to be the guest speaker. It was difficult to be here, but Hakor Satov meant that I had to be here. And I remember saying that you all know, because we were family and friends, that it's difficult for me to be here. But I want you to know that if I could have chosen a father, it would have been Reverend Brody. And I remember coming up, because I was very emotional at the time, and he understood this, and there must be a picture somewhere, and just giving me a big hug, just what I needed, from somebody who was one of my very, very most sincere heroes. Yesterday, I mentioned in the show, and it's already been referenced here, the wonderful history of the synagogue written by Roz Lifshin, and I was particularly moved when I read towards the end of the history. There is a whole thing here on the work that was done by the synagogue for children's services. You remember, I don't know if you were all here yesterday, and I mentioned, which I didn't realize, that the children's service and the synagogue had a shul song. You probably remember this. And I mentioned, some people were surprised by this, what the shul song was. I'm just going to read this to you again. Because when I said it, I wasn't so complimentary about the scansion of the poetry. I'm sorry, I regret this very much. You'll see why in a second. We are proud, can't you see, we are the Stenecourt family. and davening from the children's service every Shabbos we meet. It's not working. We begin with Matovo, sing songs, play games, and daven too, finishing with a kiddush and a sticky treat. What I said was a sticky treat. It's a typo. I know this because when I came in here tonight, the person who wrote this thing that I made fun of yesterday Estelle Gillis. Came up to me, we're family, came up to me and said, you said about the... I said, oh no, you didn't write it, did you? Don't worry, she said. It's a misprint. It should say a sticky sweet. And then, because she was family, she sang it to me. I'm not sure, we've got Chief Rabbi here, we have a nine here. I don't know if the call Isha applies to cousins and things, but anyway, she sang it. It actually works quite nicely. But it says sticky sweet. And she brought me some of them. So there you are. If you've not read this, I did read the history literally from cover to cover. It's superb and it's excellent. And I noticed there, where's Ross hiding? 15 fingers pointing at I noticed there's a story missing, or at least a story that I knew that's not there, but probably there's a million stories here that never came your way. And the story took place in this hall. Reverend Brody asked me to speak at an organisation. I don't know what the organisation is, what it's called, but it was an organisation for children who got here from the Holocaust, a Kindertransport, a group of children. And we all know the story of the Kindertransports, where of course they were absorbed into the Jewish community, and some of the greatest leaders of Anglo Jewry became such from being saved from the Nazis from the Kindertransport. What we don't hear so much about is the children who didn't get saved and absorbed and saved by the Jewish community, who were brought up by non-Jewish families. Lost, only 6, 7, 8, what did they know? They married non-Jewish partners, generally, incidentally, very lovely people. And then this organisation, I don't know how they found them, and apparently all around the country, in small towns, around Manchester and Liverpool and London, and there's all these small towns, and these Jewish children brought up as non-Jewish people with no knowledge of their Jewishness towards the end of their lives, and this was towards the end of their lives. And they wanted to reconnect with Jewishness, synagogue, shuls. And so they were in this hall here. I spoke, just sitting there, standing there, if I can remember right. I was so moved. And wasn't there an irony that Reverend Brody, who himself was, he wasn't the Kindertransport, but he just got ahead of the Nazis, a young man, got here, that he was bringing them to a synagogue that he had built and had done so much to transform. And you can see in the history the evolution from the beginnings of this synagogue, where it was only a Shabbos minyan, to what it is today, as the Chief Rabbi pointed out, a community full of Torah, full of pride in Torah. And it was a young Czech boy who came here and was able to guide the community in that direction. And he was bringing these lost souls back again for a glimpse of where they came from and who they were. And with also a feeling in my heart that, wow, what would we have gained? What would they have gained if they were part of our community? Imagine if they were part of Stenecourt. What would Stenecourt have gained if they were a part of Stenecourt? What would Anglo Jewry have gained if they had not been lost? Because being members, as the Chief Rabbi pointed out, being members of a kahila, it's a family, it's togetherness. And again, as the Chief Rabbi said, everyone is critical to who and what we are. And these were lost. But they got a chance to see, to retouch, to reconnect, and maybe in some way which we'll never know at all, one day when the whole story of the Jewish people is told, exactly how that might just have come about. I thought about those children when I first moved to the United States of America. As you probably know, my main job is I teach in a couple of yeshivas, but I travel around the world speaking and writing books and stuff. And I was invited for the first time, how long have I been in America? 18 years, something like that. And I was invited for the first time to go to Canada. Never been to Canada before. Got on a flight from LaGuardia Airport in New York and flew to Toronto. And I got off the plane. It was a very, very long walk from where the plane lands till you get to the immigration service. And it was about 8 o'clock at night. People were quite tired. There was a long line of people. There was a fellow, I could see a tall fellow ahead of me. I would say he was from India or Pakistan, from a general appearance. And as we approached the immigration hall, there was 6 immigration officers wearing bulletproof vests and carrying Heckler and Koch submachine guns. And as I could see this fellow getting there, they went like this. I went, woo! A terrorist. My first terrorist. And off he went into a room. I thought, whoa, that'll make an interesting story. And when I got there, the same guy went, I said, what? Wrong part of Canada to say what. Anyway, so I went into this room, and the room was literally not much smaller than the hall here. And they had these, you know, these zigzaggy things you get at airports. What are they called? Snakes. Yeah, zigzaggy, snaky things. And it was all, he got to the front where the desk was. It looked actually like a bank. There's all these sort of like glass screens, bulletproof, obviously. A whole bunch of security officers wearing bulletproof vests, guns, etc., sitting there on computers, and he was already there. And I thought, this is silly. Zig, zig, zig. I'll just sneak underneath. And then I thought the Heckler and Koch submachine gun, so I and I was standing behind them, and everybody was ignoring us. And then after about 5 minutes, playing on the computers, probably playing Tetris. Anyway, so after about 5 minutes, a young lady looked up and she beckoned the guy from India or Pakistan to move forward, and he moved forward, and then she went back to playing on her computer. And sitting next to her was a guy, and he looked at me and I moved forward, and he went back to playing on his computer. I'm standing there, and suddenly the young lady looked up and just said to this fellow from India or Pakistan, sir, I'm an officer of the Canadian government. It's my job to make an assessment as to a person's eligibility for entering Canada. I've made my assessment in your case, and you're being sent back to New York. And he said, I'm not going. You can't make me go. I refuse totally to go. I'm staying right here. I think she must have upset him. He upset her. He said, sir, I don't think you're listening to me. I'm an officer of the Canadian government. I make the assessment who enters the country. I've made my assessment in your case, and you're not entering Canada. Now, she must have had a little button underneath her desk, which she could touch and press without anybody noticing. Because a door at the right opened, and out came 2 of the largest human beings I've ever seen in my entire life. It was quite obvious to me that the Immigration Service of Canada recruits exclusively from the lumberjack community. And they grabbed him, it's true, grabbed him underneath the armpits, and they dragged him by the heels out. And he said, I'm not going. He went. And then suddenly my guy came to life. And I said, what's your reason for being in Canada? And I said, I'm here to deliver a lecture. And quick as a flash, he said, on what topic? And I said, marriage. And he said, are you for it or against it? And I said, well, I'm married. And he said, so am I. Are you for it or against it? And so we laughed, and he stopped my paper, and again, 6 months later, I was back in Canada for another trip. Lecturing something or other, going in, And now they changed the format, no submachine guns, but people in primrose yellow blazers, and they put you into different lines. And there was 3 immigration sort of like booths, and there was a black lady, there was a white guy, and there was an Indian Pakistani guy, not the same guy by the way, sitting there. And eventually it came my turn, and this guy sitting there, and of course by now I knew the routine. What's your reason for being in Canada? And I said, I'm here to give a lecture. And he said to me, are you a rabbi? And I said, yes. And he said, I'm a Rasha. I said, pardon? He said, I'm a Rasha. I said, a Russian? He said, you're a rabbi, yeah? I said, yeah. Well, you know the Haggadah, yeah? Well, you know about the Tam and the Inidei show, yeah, and the Rasha? Yeah, I'm the Rasha. Lovely. I'm supposed to say, now I noticed his name tag on his bulletproof vest was Lerner. And then he started to tell me his life story. Because when 2 Jews get together, it doesn't matter that there are planes landing from all over the world, jumbo jets, all the other lines are going through. No, he's telling me his story. And apparently his grandfather was a rabbi from Liverpool. Explains everything. And sorry. I actually wanted to know what the tune was for this song, incidentally. Asked Barry Steinberg, he says, you'll never walk alone. But anyway, he started telling me the story. His father was a rabbi in Liverpool, and anyway, he went to America, and the congregation treated him not nicely, and then he went to Canada, another congregation treated him not nicely, and that's why today he is a Rasha. Whether or not that is actually true, who knows? But one thing is absolutely certain, is that a kahila, a community, how it deals with its members, can be the making or the breaking. It can be a community that grows love and interest and passion for Yiddishkeit, or one that has the opposite effect. And of course, this is one that creates love and passion and love for Yiddishkeit. And there's no doubt about that whatsoever. And I want to tell you another story. Chief Rabbi, by coincidence, mentioned a young Israel in New York. I remember I got a phone call from a young Israel in Staten Island. This goes back, it was just before COVID. And I got a phone call from a rabbi, I can't even actually remember his name, and he phoned to say that they're having a Yom Limud, a day devoted to learning Torah, and they're inviting various speakers, rabbis or speakers, to come and speak to the community. The Yom Limud was provoked by the fact that somebody had dropped a Sefer Torah in shul. Now I hope that's never happened here, and I hope you've never seen it. I actually dropped one once. It was actually, I took a group of Hasidim and other from folk on a tour of Scotland many years ago, and I took the Sefer Torah up to my hotel room. There was a chair, a nice comfy chair, sort of round chair, soft, and I put the Sefer Torah on it, and I made sure it was well situated in the spongy seat bed as I tried to open the door. So it just slid like that open. It's so distressing. It's so upsetting. Fortunately, I was the only one that saw it, so I was the only one that had to fast the next day. But when such a thing happens, a Jewish heart is really, really giving quite a fright. And this is what happened in the show. So would I come and speak, because we've got a Yom Limud about this, and I was the first speaker. When I arrived there, the show was absolutely jam-packed, because he'd already explained the whole show was very motivated and upset on it. And so I sat there, and the rabbi, a lovely young man, and he stood there and he launched the day. He said, we all know why we're here. We all know that a Sefer Torah was dropped. And when the Sefer Torah was dropped, I thought to myself, why did this happen to us? Why did this happen to us? So we already heard from our MC and from the Chief Rabbi that sometimes people talk in show. So that's what he said. So I was thinking, what can we do to improve? says, I'm not the sort of rabbi who bangs in the pulpit and gives mussar and shouts and screams. But if I'm being honest, I thought to myself, the truth is, the decorum of the shul is not bad, but there's still too much talking. It could be improved. Maybe also when it comes to charity. We're not a rich community, he said, but there's no doubt at all that when people come collecting, we could push ourselves a little bit more. We could give a little bit more. And if we have a guest rabbi and shiurim over a Shabbaton or something, people come, but more people could come. But the problem was that the person who dropped the Sefer Torah, and then he paused and he said, and you all know who dropped the Sefer Torah. And in case you don't know, he said, it was Mark Rubinstein. And I sat there with my jaw dropping. I mean, he just assassinated the guy in public. It's terrible, you don't, for shame somebody in public. And you all know Mark Rubinstein. Because Mark Rubinstein, if there's a guest shiur in Shabbos, he's always the first person to turn up to the shiur. He's not a rich man. But Mark always gives as much as he possibly can do. And speaking in shul, Mark would never speak in shul. So of all the people in shul that this could have happened to, why was it Mark Rubinstein? So he went to see Reb David Feinstein. And Reb David Feinstein heard the story. And quick as a flash, he said, well, of course it had to be Mark Rubinstein. If it happened to anybody else, then people would say, oh, I know why that happened, because he talks during davening. Or I know why it happened, because that guy is his card, he doesn't give nothing. Tzedakah when he could, he's quite rich. Or I know why, because this guy doesn't come to shiurim. But as it wasn't that, it was Mark who doesn't do anything, then they had to turn around and say, it's not him, it's us. Because the shul is a kehillah, it's a family. As the chief rabbi beautifully said a few seconds ago, we are connected with each other. As the Chazal say, there's a little bit of you in me, and a little bit of me in you. Did you know you were partially Scottish? A kehillah can affect what goes on. I want to tell you one last story. Because look, we're here meeting again, and I'm here back. And somebody said, welcome home, when I walked in here earlier. And I feel this is home. Not just Manchester, which I do. But this show, which I spent so much of my time, and this show, who produced so many chairmen of my chaplaincy board to keep me going from Stenecourt, at least 3. I feel as though, I feel this is family. Because I once say, they talk about somebody, a young man who said to his father, the father said to the son, how many friends do you think you have? 100? But really? Go and check. Go and check. And a while later the boy came back and said, you were right. When I really needed them, I found that I only had half a friend. How can you tell who your real friends are? When you need them. And this you can see in Facebook or all over the world. Jews are saying, where are our non-Jewish friends? What happened to them? And also this terrible and tough time that we're going through. I wanted to be here with my family and friends. When this invitation came in, I was so humbled. I want to be here to stand together in the place that I consider my home, with my family and my friends, and the show that gave so much to me to be able to express my Hakaras Hatov. But I want to tell you one last story that happened here in Shul. Many, many years ago, I'm guessing 20 years ago, so maybe some of you might even remember. Reverend Brody had asked me to speak in Yom Kippur, and I spoke about how important it is to be able, if you're able to, if you can, give forgiveness to somebody, even though you've been very hurt, then you must try and do so. Because far more than you give to the person by forgiving them, you give to yourself. You give to yourself. As the Rambam makes clear, Hashem can forgive you for anything you did to offend him. Or as Masil Shisham says, even murder or even adultery, these are pretty bad things. God can forgive you. But people find it hard to forgive. We find it hard to forgive, particularly if we're hurt. But you see, if you can't forgive, then the pain of the past becomes the pain of the present. It can become the pain of a lifetime. And really, much more than you give to the person you forgive, you give to yourself if you can forgive them. And particularly if the thing that you fell out about, and this is so common in families, was over money and Yerushas and who got the silver candlesticks. So 20 or so years ago in the Yom Kippur, I said to the shul the following thing. So I want you to, if you're serious about doing your bit for Klal Yisrael at this difficult time, and who isn't, and it's not just davening, but we get practical things to do as well. Try this. If there's a cousin you used to be close to, if God forbid it's a brother or a sister, if it's a mother or a father or a son and a daughter and you haven't spoken to them for 10, 15, 20 years, I'd like you to do this, but you have to do exactly what I tell you or it won't work. You have to phone them up, and do it right now, after Yom Kippur, and say, listen, please don't hang up the phone. It's me, and I know we haven't spoken for 15 years, but I just want you to know that I've been thinking about what we fell out about. I've been thinking about it, and I've come to the conclusion it was 100% my fault. Now, I know it wasn't 100% your fault. It can never be 100% somebody's fault, or extraordinarily rarely. But that's what you're going to say. And then you say, and I'd like to come to apologize to you in person. And if you do, and I can't give you a cast iron guarantee, but I'd like to give you the guarantee that, not 100%, but maybe 95% guarantee by the time you get to that front door, the guy's going to turn around or the lady's going to turn around and say, the brother, the sister, the cousin, the friend, it wasn't 100% your fault. It was my fault too. And you find you've recaptured a friendship with a cousin, a brother, a father, or a child. And that's what I said. And I went home, made $1, and the next day somebody phoned me up. He said, Rabbi Rubinstein, I was in shul in Stenecourt in Yom Kippur. I said, oh yeah? And I listened to your sermon. It touched me very much. And after Yom Kippur, I phoned up my brother. I said, we haven't spoken for 23 years. I want you to know I've been thinking about it. It was entirely my fault. My brother said, you're damn right it was, and he slammed down the phone. But I have to tell you, whenever I've said that story all over the world, and I have, without exception, the following week, it's not one phone call, but there's 10, 12, 15 people phone and say, I did it. I'm now speaking to my brother, to my sister, to my cousin, to my mother, to my father. I'm promising you that's true. So the strength of us, the strength of Klal Yisrael is Achdut. We know that. The strength that the President of the State of Israel just said, and Hamas said, when we saw their Perut, the splitting of the Jewish people, that was the encouragement we needed to know that we were going to be successful. And again, those same splits are being apparent in the Jewish people. The President said, in the State of Israel now, but throughout the Jewish world, you can see it. Something practical to do? Pick up that phone. Reverend Brody, and I think you can say it's a Kaddish Librach, always used to say, when he was the role of this show, when a couple used to come, or people would come with a problem in their marriage, a problem in the relationship within the family, and they were really angry and really hurt, sincerely hurt, he would say to them, I used to say to them just one word, Holocaust. Holocaust. Really, for anybody here who's been through, God forbid not Holocaust, but if you've been through serious illness, or somebody you love, has been through serious illness, don't you see the world differently? Isn't all the stuff that we aspire to, that we hope for, that we're upset about, isn't it all total rubbish? And then you see the real thing. You see it, you put it into context. You just said, Holocaust. We know what we've been through. Okay, so they got silver candlesticks. Okay, you can go over this. Maybe I should tell you this, that somebody owed me $60,000. And just after October 7th, and I've been talking to him about it, paying it back, and he said, yes, I owe you this, and I know, and incidentally, I don't have $60,000 to worry about. Yeah, I owe you. And then there started to be a wobble. It might have had to go to the Dean Tower to get it. But in my mind, it was going to be an open and closed case. And then October the 7th happened. I wrote to him and said, I'm about it. Forget it. It doesn't matter. What matters is Actus and Clonmacnoise. That's worth $60,000. That's $600,000. That's worth $6 billion. And don't forget, it was worth $6 million. So I would invite you that that's what you should do. Going away from this fantastic celebration of a community that really embodies Actus, of growth, of Torah values, of Talmud. And who was the greatest of all Jews but the one who is called Aaron Oyet Shalom? I think we could do that. That could be our contribution. Because there are people trying, Jews still trying to split Clonmacnoise. We can celebrate 70 years of Stenecourt by showing and shining our Actus. Because the word's not Holocaust, the word today is Hamas or Hezbollah. The antidote to that is the Actus, the beauty, the Shamekite that I have seen in my association. And you know, because of your participation, belonging to this family, the family that I'm so proud to be a part of.